Hello folks, it's me, DeMontropolis, and here I am with the definitive boss guide to Mega Man 5. Here, I'll be discussing all of Mega Man 5's bosses in great detail, for both newcomers and veterans. Now I am aware that this is generally an easier game, and that might beg the question of why I'm making a boss guide in the first place, other than just, this game is next in the assembly line. There are some tricky bosses worth talking about here, especially doing them Buster only. Plus, the Mega Buster's charge shot is arguably at its most powerful in this game, and why not have an opportunity to use it? So without further ado, let's jump right in. DWN 33, Gravity Man. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on shots. Gravity Man may be a disorienting foe, but the mechanic of his fight is quite simple, and he follows a strict pattern. Entering the boss arena while upside down, you will always be opposite of Gravity Man, who starts on the floor. His main gimmick is to use Gravity Hold constantly, which will flip the orientation of both characters. Gravity Man can only be hit by the Buster as you fly past each other. In between gravity holds, he will either run or hop a short distance as to reposition himself. He can also attack by firing shots from his Buster, which travel in a straight line and are loosely aimed at Mega Man's position. Buster only. Hitting Gravity Man consistently is pretty easy to get down, especially with the size of the Charge Buster. You have to be careful not to get headbutted by Gravity Man, as gravity gets switched, which is easily avoided as he does not move horizontally when flipping. It's also important to keep in mind that Gravity Man's exact movement is patternized, and he never deviates from it, so knowing that will make it much easier to avoid damage. He starts the fight from the bottom right, and uses Gravity Hold to get to the ceiling. He runs to the center, then flips to get to the bottom. He runs to the left corner, then flips to get to the ceiling. He then does a short hop rightwards, covering quite a bit of distance and overshooting the center. He then flips to the floor and does another short hop, but this one goes left and is shorter in distance. He flips to the ceiling, runs to the center, flips to the floor, and finally runs to the bottom right. From here, he will repeat the order of movements from the top. Gravity Man's shot timings also have a pattern. From the start, he will spend 2 jumps not shooting, and these jumps count as both gravity hold jumps and short hop jumps. The next 3 jumps will have Gravity Man shoot at the median of the jump distance. He always cycles between 2 jumps of not shooting and 3 jumps of shooting. Have all of this internalized and you'll almost never take damage. The only thing that will be hitting you from time to time is Gravity Man's wonky aiming, but that's hardly an issue. Weapons. Gravity Man's weakness is Star Crash, which does 4 damage and can also block his shots. The shield's slow speed upon launch can be timed before Gravity Hold is used, so that Gravity Man will land on the shield or walk into it, making it easy to hit him with it. Funnily enough, he's the only Robot Master who cannot be hurt by Charge Kick whatsoever. DWN 34, Wave Man. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on harpoon, 3 damage on water wave. Unlike most other water robot masters, Wave Man is fought on land. He has 3 actions that he cycles through in a set order, and is generally one of the easier bosses in the game. His first is to plant his Buster into the ground and release a water wave from below, which sprouts in place just like the steam cracks from earlier in the stage. It usually appears in front of or behind a Mega Man if he stands still, and can also block projectiles, though you can also jump over it. After 1.5 seconds of keeping the water wave in play, it dissipates, and Wave Man immediately attacks by shooting a big harpoon, fired in a straight line at your direction. The harpoon is slow in speed, but does not have a telegraph. After shooting a harpoon, Wave Man does one of 2 jumps, a high one or a shorter one, though both aim to land right in front of you or on top of you. He then repeats his actions in the same sequence. Buster only. Wave Man can be a bit tricky at the start of the fight, because the first water wave pins you at the corner where you are. Although it's tempting to jump over it right away, you might risk getting hurt by Wave Man's shorter jump. When the fight starts, stand still, wait for the harpoon to come by, and jump straight up. Wave Man's jumps do have a limit on how far they go, so his first jump will always land in front of you. Every time he uses water wave, you should stand perfectly still, though a jump in place doesn't hurt to readjust. Water waves can either be a good distance from you, or right next to you and punish you for fidgeting. Survey its location to make your attacks easier to land. Although Water Wave can block projectiles, Mega Man sticks his arm out far enough to shoot through it if close enough, and this even works with charge shots. Once you got that down, dodging the harpoon and his jumps should be very straightforward. Outside of Water Wave protecting him on occasion, Waveman is always open to attacks and stands still often, so he'll go down very quickly. Weapons. Waveman is weak to Charge Kick, which does 4 damage. Charge Kick is a bit of an awkward weakness, as you are unable to slide through the water waves without taking damage, though you can slide past the harpoons. The best opportunity of when to attack is when Waveman lands from a jump. After your attack, you do want to jump, because the water wave will have a higher chance of appearing underneath you. From there, you can gauge whether to do another Charge Kick attack, or wait for Waveman's next jump. DWN 35, Stone Man. 6 damage on contact, 4 damage on Power Stone. Stone Man spends almost the entire fight jumping in Mega Man's general direction, though he won't always aim to land on his position, usually just getting closer. He has 2 types of jumps. The first is short in height and helps him get around, while the second is a much higher jump. Upon landing from this high jump, Stone Man shakes the screen, which does not stun you, and collapses into a pile of bricks, making him temporarily immune to damage, but also allowing you to walk over him. He will quickly reform himself after a second. If you stay too far away from Stone Man, which is guaranteed at the start, Stone Man attacks using Power Stone before doing a high jump, and he's invincible at the start of forming the Power Stone. When activated, Power Stone sends out 2 circular stones that expand outwards in a circular orbit, though they will despawn as soon as they touch the borders of the screen. Staying close to Stone Man means he will never get a chance to use Power Stone, making the battle easier. Buster Only. Although his main gimmick is to break apart into bricks, Stone Man's very easy, as long as you make sure to stay close to him so he doesn't use Power Stone. If you stay left at the start of the fight, Power Stone will never reach you before it despawns. There is a minor difference in his recovery time between regular high jumps and Power Stone jumps. With the former, he jumps as soon as he recovers, but with the latter, he stays idle for a second before jumping. Other than that, he's very basic and has no other tricks up his sleeve. Remember to charge your Buster when he's disassembled, and you'll beat him in no time. Weapons. Stone Man is weak to Napalm Bomb, which does 4 damage. The weapon can be set up so Stone Man can land on it and jump into it, but the best way to use it is to plant Napalm Bombs atop of Stone Man when he is disassembled, so by the time he reforms himself, he will take damage right away. DWN 36, Gyro Man. 5 damage on contact, 6 damage on gyro attack. Gyro Man only has 2 attacks, but it should be noted that his arena has clouds covering the entire upper half of the screen. Gyro Man's first attack is to throw a spinning propeller forward. This is called the gyro attack, and does quite a bit of damage, and upon crossing Mega Man's X-axis, will stop to move up or down. It goes up if you jump over the projectile, or goes down if you either slide under it or get hit or grounded. Gyro Man does his next action once the propeller leaves the screen, so it is advised to jump over it to keep Gyro Man in place for a longer time. His second attack starts with him flying up into the clouds, disappearing from view. A gyro attack is then thrown from where he was straight down. Upon crossing Mega Man's Y-axis, it will stop to move left or right. Once that projectile leaves the screen, Gyro Man drops straight down onto where you were when the gyro attack disappeared, ready to start his next attack. Buster Only. Dodging the grounded gyro attack is imperative because of how much damage it deals, but it is pretty straightforward to do so. Once you finish jumping up and over it, keep a 1-second timer in your head. Once that goes off, the projectile will have disappeared off the top of the screen, and that's your cue to jump over another grounded gyro attack. This move has a very short telegraph anyway, so anticipation will see you perform better than reaction. If Gyro Man does not do a grounded gyro attack, then you have all the time in the world to dodge the aerial gyro attack, which is much easier to evade and react to. This one you should also jump forward, but once that despawns, you need to slide to avoid Gyro Man landing on top of you. Once you gain distance, then you can start jumping over his grounded attacks again. Weapons. Gyro Man is weak to Gravity Hold, which does 4 damage. The weapon's nature being a screen nuke also means Gyroman will take damage even if he's in the clouds, but you will need a full bar of ammo as Gravity Hold only has 7 uses. Use your attacks within intervals as not to have an attack overlap Gyroman's iframes. DWN 37, Starman. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on Star Crash. Starman has a very simple pattern, immediately bringing up a Star Crash, a shield that protects him from attacks. Starman's movement is determined by our proximity. If you are far away, Starman will do a long jump to your position. If you are close, Starman will do a much higher jump that doesn't go very far. At the apex of this high jump, Starman may stop in midair, shine his buster, and launch the Star Crash at Mega Man's position. It has a big hitbox, but it moves very slowly and you can use the space physics to dodge it. Once the Star Crash leaves the screen, Starman falls back down to the ground and creates another Star Crash, once he lands. There is a possibility that Starman may not shoot off his Star Crash at the apex of his jump. In this case, he will land back down, do a very short hop off the ground, and fire off his shield from there. Buster only. Although the Star Crash is a very big shield, you could shoot through it up close, even with the big charge buster. Take advantage of this at the start of the fight by prepping up a charge shot beforehand, slide under Starman when he does his long jump, and counterattack. You want to stay close to Starman because he'll never throw his Star Crash when long jumping. Although he can throw it near the ceiling or close to the ground, there isn't a clear tell as to which one he will do. Thankfully, the Star Crash is slow and avoidable with good enough reaction, though its size will cause trouble if Starman manages to corner you. To prevent this, you want Starman to travel roughly 2 high jumps away from the center before making your move to slide under him. It should also be noted that Starman has a deceptively small hitbox, as regular lemons will pass right through his feet when he short hops off the ground. Thankfully, the Charge Buster will solve your problems there. Weapons. Starman is weak to Water Wave, which does 4 damage. The waves of water can actually negate his shield and damage him at the same time, though Starman will be quick to restore his Star Crash once he lands. Using the proximity behavior to your advantage, if you stay close to Starman and keep negating the Star Crash right before he does a high jump, he'll get stuck in a loop of jumping high without being able to attack. DWN 38, Charge Man. 5 damage on contact, 5 damage on charge kick, 4 damage on flaming coal. Charge Man always starts the fight by using charge kick to race towards your position at a fast speed, invincible while charging. Once he stops his charge, he will walk towards you, which is the main opportunity to damage him. His walking speed is slow, but he may turn around to catch you right as you finish jumping over him. It may seem cheap, but there is a method to his madness, which I'll explain later. Once Charge Man finishes walking, which takes about 2 seconds, he will do his next attack, which is influenced a bit by your player proximity. If you're close to him when he stops walking, he may immediately charge forward. If you're far away, he will turn red, which makes him invincible, and shoot up coal from his chimney, doing a toot noise as well. The coal comes down as 3 pieces of flaming coal, and they fall in predetermined formations from above, though the specific pattern is randomly chosen. Charge Man has a small window of standing still before doing his next attack, which is also influenced by player proximity. If you're close to him after he shoots coal, he may go back to walking. If you're far from him after he shoots coal, he will charge forward. No matter what, he always goes back to walking after a charge attack. Buster only. Charge Man can be annoying, as the main opportunity to hurt him is when he walks around, but this is also when he can easily catch you off guard. Like I said before, there is a method to his madness. When he walks, he does so in 3 consistent increments, and in between these increments, he checks your location to determine whether he turns around or continues his current direction. This is the reason why he might immediately turn around as you jump over him, because you pass by him right as he does the check for where you are. To prevent this, you want to lure Charge Man to the very center of the room, because he does a second check right before he reaches the center, so as soon as you see his foot touch the base of that diagonal line in the background, jump over him to guarantee your safety. If Charge Man uses his flaming coal after walking, your best bet is to hug the left or right corners, because only 1 or 2 formations actually target those areas, so most of the time you won't have to dodge anything. Then you can lure Chargeman to the wall when he does Charge Kick and repeat the process. If he sticks to using Flaming Coal, you'll be good to go. But if he uses Charge Kick, he'll be near the center and you have to improvise. After he stops short, jump over him as soon as he starts walking and you'll set yourself up to gain distance on the right side. Be ready for a surprise Charge Kick once he finishes walking because it'll be much closer to you. Regardless of what he does, he'll always charge to the right corner and you can go back to your usual shtick from there. Weapons. Chargeman is weak to Power Stone, which does forward damage. However, because of the weapon's unruly nature, potential to miss Chargeman, and Chargeman being invincible for most of the battle, it will take a long time to defeat him with it. The best way to guarantee a hit is to use Power Stone when you're in the air and diagonally parallel with Chargeman. You can also pause the game after it hits Chargeman to make the boulders disappear and attack again right after, though this really won't affect your speed in killing him. DWN 39 Napalm Man. 5 damage on contact, 5 damage on missiles, 4 damage on Napalm Bomb, 4 damage on Napalm Bomb Explosion. Napalm Man only has 2 attacks, but the specific one he chooses is based on distance. If you're far away from him, Napalm Man will fire missiles from his head to travel forward in a straight line, always shooting 3 missiles one by one. They only explode if they come in contact with you, otherwise passing through the wall. If you're close to him, Napalm Man will shoot up 2 napalm bombs at an arc in the air so they land close to Mega Man's position. Once the napalm bombs touch a surface, they will explode. In between attacks, Napalm Man always moves by jumping to close the distance, doing his next attack as soon as he lands. Buster only. Using this knowledge, his pattern becomes very exploitable by staying close to him, which simply makes him only attack with a napalm bomb. At the start, that's not possible, so you need to dodge the first 3 missiles. They can be jumped over and slid under, whatever works. Napalm Man's first jump will reach the center, so you should be close to him once he lands. The closer you are, the easier it is to walk away from the napalm bombs before they explode. The explosions have a very short hitbox, and jumping away will guarantee safety. After the napalm bombs, you always want to walk or slide under Napalm Man when he jumps forward, so you can keep him moving in a back and forth pattern. This will also prevent you from getting cornered, where the napalm bombs can easily hit you. Weapons. Napalm Man is weak to Crystal Eye, though unlike other weaknesses, it only does 3 damage, both for the big and small projectiles. Although it may seem more obvious to bounce the weapon off the wall so the smaller projectiles can hit him multiple times, it is difficult to pull off, and Mega Man can't shoot another Crystal Eye during this time. As such, it is more recommended to attack Napalm Man directly with the bigger crystals. DWN 40 Crystal Man. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on shots, 3 damage on Crystal Eye. Crystal Man only moves by jumping, reaching the center of the screen's Y-axis and traveling a very short distance horizontally. He spends the entire fight jumping, but has 2 attacks that are determined by player proximity. If you're close to him, Crystal Man will pause at the apex of his jump to charge up and release a single shot, which is fired in a straight line and loosely aimed at Mega Man's position. If you're far away, Crystal Man will jump to the very top of the ceiling and use Crystal Eye, shooting off 4 blue crystal balls that bounce along the room. They are shot off in the diagonals and can be tricky to avoid, but will disappear after a few seconds of bouncing. He always uses Crystal Eye at the start of the fight. Buster only. Just like with Napalm Man, you have to stay close to Crystal Man so he doesn't use his more dangerous attack, though you will have to dodge it at least once. To dodge the first set of Crystal Eyes, wait until the crystals approach you, then slide underneath the bottom left one and jump straight up to dodge the rest. It is pretty precise to do so, especially with the lag making it tricky to time. The Crystal Eyes despawn by the time they rebound off the wall a second time and just before they hit the ground, so while they are active, focus on dodging Crystal Man and staying away from his blue projectiles until they go away. Once they do, then you can stay close to him. Doing this means he will be unable to use Crystal Eye, only sticking to his regular shots. Anytime you break that distance and get yourself too far away, he'll unleash his Crystal Eye and complicate things. Even if you commit to staying close, he's a bit tricky with his jumps, as he has 2 different timings for how long he waits on the ground before jumping again. These you need to get under with good reaction, and you want to guide him left and right around the room to make him as predictable as possible. His regular shots aim in fixed trajectories with their loose aiming, so when you see him prepare one, you want to jump away and over it, so you can dodge it and keep yourself close to Crystal Man. Weapons. Crystal Man's weakness is Gyro Attack, which does 4 damage. The weapon's manual aiming can serve to hit Crystal Man if he jumps very high, but as you will want to stay close to him, simply shooting it at him without any directional influence is good enough. First Proto-Boss, Darkman 1. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on shots. Darkman 1 has a very simple pattern. He advances forward a short distance before stopping to shoot a buster shot. This unprovoked buster shot travels straight forward at a medium speed. He waits until the shot leaves the screen before continuing to advance. However, if he is hit while advancing, he retaliates by stopping to shoot. This retaliation shot is much faster in speed, and actually aims at Mega Man's position. If Darkman 1 passes by Mega Man's position while advancing, he briefly stops moving but does not shoot, and his interval to shoot is temporarily paused, resuming when Darkman 1 turns around. This boss moves at 2 different speeds throughout the fight. At the start, he moves very slowly, but once he loses roughly half of his health, he moves at a much faster speed, comparable to Mega Man's own walking speed. Buster only. The trickiest part of this fight is having to consistently jump over Darkman 1. Having tank treads for legs, he is very wide and that makes his hitbox tough to clear, especially with him chasing you all the time. However, you could take advantage of his pattern to make things much easier on your end. When the fight starts, you want to get him down to his fast speed as quickly as possible. This should be done by coming into his fight with a charge shot ready and hitting him with only charge shots. Most of the time, he'll shift to his fast speed after 4 charge shots are dealt, the equivalent of 12 damage. Occasionally, he won't shift right away and you will need 1 more hit before doing so. Once you notice him go faster, then you can jump over and start working your magic. The best strategy from here is to be patient with Darkman 1 by guiding him back and forth across the room. After you jump over him to create distance, slide away while jumping over the unprovoked shot. You want your next charge shot to hit Darkman 1 when he's roughly in the center of the screen. The really important mechanic to remember is that Darkman 1 immediately moves once his shots go away, so anytime he does a retaliation shot while moving at his fast speed, never do a full jump. Always short hop over it so you can be ready to jump over Darkman 1 when he gets near. This whole strategy does take some practice, but it is consistently doable and he'll give you little trouble once you learn it. Weapons. As with all the Darkmen, Darkman 1 is weak to Beat, who automatically homes in on him and does 3 damage. However, because of Darkman 1's retaliations, Beat may be unwieldy and is better saved for the other Darkmen. Instead, the best weapon to use is Water Wave, which also does 3 damage and can even negate his grounded shots if they collide. Another good strategy for Darkman 1 is for you to use Charge Kick, which lets you slip underneath his projectiles and go right through him without requiring you to jump over him. While not a weakness, it is very difficult for Darkman 1 to hurt you while using the attack, and Mega Man can defeat him with an entire bar of ammo. Second Proto-Boss, Darkman 2. 5 damage on contact. Darkman 2 is one of the easiest bosses in the series. His only pattern alternates between walking to Mega Man's position and stopping for 2 seconds once he passes his position. His speed gradually increases as he receives damage, similar to Darkman 1, and it hits top speed once he reaches half health. Unlike Darkman 1, Darkman 2 has protection in the form of 2 electromagnetic barriers which protect him from Mega Man's buster shots and circle around him throughout the entire battle. Buster only. Damaging him with the buster means you will have to time your shots so they hit Darkman 2 when the barriers are not directly in front of him. Since they rotate pretty slowly, it shouldn't be difficult to do so, especially with him standing still and letting you practice. If you can jump over Darkman 1 consistently, you can jump over Darkman 2 consistently, though it is a bit trickier to do so because of his gradual speed up being independent of your control. Still, he has no other attacks, so as long as you stay focused, you'll always defeat him. Weapons. As with all the Darkmen, Darkman 2 is weak to Beat, who automatically homes in on him and goes through his shield to do 3 damage. If you wish to use a different weapon, or do not have beat, you have 3 options to use. Napalm Bomb, Crystal Eye, and Super Arrow all do 2 damage, and also ignore his barriers. Napalm Bomb is the most recommended out of these 3, as it costs less ammo than Super Arrow and has a favorable trajectory. The Crystal Eye is also effective, as it travels faster while costing the same amount of energy, but if you miss and hit the wall, you'll be unable to fire for a while. Third Proto-Boss, Darkman 3. 5 damage on contact, 4 damage on shots, 0 freeze on Ring Beam. Darkman 3 is very slow on the ground, only inching forward in short walks. He has 2 attacks, but he uses them based on player proximity. If you're far away, he will jump high into the air and stay in place at the apex of his jump to rapid fire 5 shots from his sniper cannon. These 5 shots are loosely and individually aimed at your position, and Darkman 3 falls back to the ground after he shoots the last shot. If you're close to Darkman 3, he will stop walking and fire 3 ring projectiles from his chest. These rings move at a rather slow speed, and a spread that is loosely aimed at your position, meaning they can be aimed upwards if you're airborne. If the rings touch Mega Man, they actually paralyze him in place for several seconds, so he can be hit more easily by Darkman 3's sniper shots or body contact. Buster Only. Darkman 3 is another boss who can be exploited into doing 1 attack by staying close to him. Even if you go out of your way not to do so, he can walk for a random amount of time and corner you anyway. At the beginning of the fight, I stay still and let Darkman 3 come to me. Once I see him do a high jump, I slide past his shots so I can be on the right side of him as he lands. From there, standing close to him will have him shoot his rings. Since he can aim these upwards, you should always wait until they are released before jumping over them. The rings move slowly once they are created, so the timing to jump them is very forgiving. Darkman 3 will do his next action after the rings disappear, but if you dodge the rings and stay close to Darkman 3, he will remain in place and keep shooting rings until they hit Mega Man, ensuring an easy victory. Weapons. As with all the Darkmen, Darkman 3 is weak to Beat, who automatically homes in on him to do 3 damage, and Beat can still attack while Mega Man is paralyzed. If you wish to use a different weapon, or do not have Beat, you have 2 options to use. Gyro Attack and Super Arrow do 2 damage, though Gyro Attack is the more recommended option, as it costs less ammo than Super Arrow. A lesser known method of fighting him is to use Charge Kick and to run into the paralyzing rings with it. If hit, Mega Man is frozen in place and remains invincible while frozen, still being able to hurt Darkman 3. Both the shots and contact damage can't hurt Mega Man as he is in his Charge Kick state. After the appropriate amount of time, you'll break out of the paralysis, and if timed correctly, Darkman 3 will take multiple hits and you will slide away from him before taking contact damage. However, Charge Kick only inflicts 1 damage at a time, so this is a more experimental method of fighting him. Fourth Proto-Boss, Darkman 4. 5 damage on contact, 6 damage on shots, 6 damage on electromagnetic barriers. Darkman 4 is the most complex of the Darkman robots, and combines attacks from all of them into his own pattern. He has Darkman 2's twin electromagnetic barriers circling around him and protecting him from buster shots. However, they circle around him at a faster speed. Darkman 4 has 2 attacks that can be used, chosen randomly. His first is to fire quick buster shots forward, taken from Darkman 1. He always shoots 3 buster shots, which can be slid under or jumped over, but he shoots them at a fast enough rate that Mega Man will have to short hop over them precisely instead of doing full jumps. Darkman 4's second attack is to release his barriers away from him, sweeping the ground on both sides and going off screen. After this, he does a high jump, taken from Darkman 3, that lands on Mega Man's position. Once he lands, the barriers return to him from off screen. Buster Only. Darkman 4's difficulty is mostly dependent on the frequency that he uses each of his 2 moves. He's most vulnerable when he lands back down after he throws his barriers, which can be best reacted to if you stay far away from him. Since he does such a high jump, you don't have to slide under him, just walking will do. The more often he throws his barriers and jumps at you, the easier it is for you to land hits, especially with the big charge shot. However, if he keeps firing shots, this is when you'll have to play the long game. Since his barriers spin faster, building a charge shot and timing it is very difficult to land, so you're better off firing little lemons in quick bursts so that you have an easier chance to hit through his defense. The shots that Darkman 4 fires are tricky, as they are spaced out just enough that you need to mix up your jumps and slides in order to maintain distance. I like to jump the first one in a way so that I can land in front of the second one, so I can slide under that, then I can jump over the last one. If you can do that consistently, then you're good to go. Adapt your firepower to whatever attack he throws at you, and you'll come out on top against the imposter who framed Proto Man. Weapons. As with all the Darkman robots, Darkman 4 is weak to Beat, who automatically homes in on him to damage him, going through his shield and doing 3 damage. If you saved energy for Beat, this is the time to use him. Starcrash and Power Stone do 2 damage and also ignore his barriers, with Starcrash being able to protect Mega Man from his buster shots, though continuously doing so will drain too much ammo. Power Stone is more recommended, as it has more ammo and lags the game slightly, which can help you with reacting to attacks. First wily boss, Big Pets. 10 damage on head contact, 5 damage on segment contact, 2 damage on small robots. Big Pets always hangs out on the right side. The boss's weak point is its head, but it always keeps its head closed while on standby, and can't be hurt during this time. To damage the boss, Mega Man has to shoot its body segments, which causes them to launch forward at a fast speed before stopping at the left border of the screen. Due to the spikes on their sides, the segments will harm Mega Man if he gets smacked directly. They also double as platforms, and after they stop at the left side, pull back at a slower speed until they get back under Big Pets. The boss also opens its eyes when a segment has been launched and is returning to it, and is vulnerable during this time. As such, Mega Man has to use the segments in order to reach the head and damage Big Pets. Throughout the fight, Big Pets will passively attack by shooting 1 to 2 miniature robots at a time from the top of its head, causing them to rain down from above in set patterns. The miniature robots it summons move down in a slightly wavy pattern, and can be destroyed. Once a set of robots has disappeared, Big Pets sends out another set. Buster only. If you struggle with being patient, Big Pets is going to give you a lot of trouble. The main difficulty comes from having to use both segments to reach Big Pets, but also having to avoid the random formations of the small green robots, which can be frustrating if they don't coordinate well. Though, there are many factors that work in your favor to make this fight easier. At the start, Big Pets won't begin attacking until a few seconds in, so you have time to examine how the segments move. My rule of thumb for getting the most damage is this. When you trigger the second segment, hold the shoot button to prepare a charge shot, which can be released at Big Pets once you get on top of that second segment. You can even get in a second charge shot if you stand on that segment long enough and charge immediately. 2 charge shots equal 6 damage, a fifth of his health, so you will need to do this at least 5 times. Of course, there are little robots to slow down the process. You want to stay on the left side and observe their patterns to know when to trigger the segments and go for an attack. If they are directly above you and too close to the left side, it's going to be risky getting up to Big Pet's height without bumping into those robots. When the robots appear closer to the center or right side, then you should start triggering the first segment. When you trigger the second segment, you're going to have to mash through the robots, and if everything goes well, you'll be able to pull off another 6 damage attack. This is a fight where you can basically go at your own pace. Don't rush things and you'll be good to go. Weapons. Big Pets is weak to Crystal Eye, which does 4 damage. It's better to simply hit the boss with a bigger crystal, as it is more reliable than trying to time the little crystals to hit the boss a second time. If you have a lot of ammo, you can afford to hit the segments with Crystal Eye and keep a quicker pace going that way. Second wily boss, Circling Q9. 5 damage on contact, 5 damage on orbs, 5 damage on shots. The arena is flat, but has 2 semi-solid platforms on the sides. When stood on, they will slowly hover up to the middle of the screen, though slightly away from the direct center, before coming back down. Circling Q9 alternates between 2 different movement patterns, and its head, the weak point, is protected at all times by a yellow circular ring. The ring has 2 door flaps on the sides, and the boss can only be damaged when these side flaps are open. The first movement pattern has Circling Q9 erratically flying near the top of the screen in a wavy sideways motion. Throughout this movement, the boss attacks by shooting 4 orange orbs from the head's top funnel in a lob trajectory, each loosely aimed at Mega Man's position. Circling Q9 also keeps its door flaps open and closed at a 50-50 rate. After the 4th orb is shot, Circling Q9 will be at the center and begin the second movement pattern, which has the boss move in an inverted V-shaped ascending-descending motion, dipping down to the corners of the screen. Each time Circling Q9 reaches a corner, it attacks by firing a shot from its mouth, loosely aimed at Mega Man's position in a straight line. Circling Q9 also keeps its door flaps open at all times during this movement. Buster only. With Circling Q9, there are different game plans for each of the 2 movement patterns. The 4 orbs are a bit tricky to dodge because the initial part of this arc is invisible by passing the screen border. Since they are fired in the same intervals, the best way to dodge them is to move in between them without committing to one direction. This first movement pattern is also a good opportunity to use the platforms. Since Circling Q9 always goes left first, you can use the right platform to time a good charge shot, so you won't be able to use it at the very beginning of the fight. The second movement pattern is where you can go on the offensive with your charge shots, as you could get in 3 during this time frame for 9 damage. The mouth shots will actually fly over Mega Man's head if he stands still, so sliding is not necessary. When Circling Q9 leaves the first corner, go to that side so you can use the platform to get in your 3rd charge shot. If you keep up the damage, Circling Q9 will go down very quickly. Weapons. Circling Q9 is weak to Gyro Attack, which does 4 damage. Due to only being vulnerable from the sides, the manual aiming of Gyro Attack is not necessary for this battle. You could do fancy trick shots with it, but at that point, you're basically just flexing. Third Wily boss, Wily Press. 6 damage on contact. The arena is mostly flat, but has a small ditch in the middle with spikes, but is easily jumped over. The Wily Press spends most of the fight at the very top of the screen, flying left and right in an erratic fashion. Eventually, the Wily Press stops moving, telegraphed by the center pod opening to reveal Dr. Wily inside. After a second of staying in place, the Wily Press slams down. The floor will also rise simultaneously with Wily's drop, both of these entities meeting at the middle for half of a second before moving away. This gives Mega Man just enough time to reposition himself. Dr. Wily is the boss's weak point, and can only be hurt once the Wily Press is all the way down. Buster only. This one isn't too engaging, but I would say the best place to be is on the ledges next to the spikes. The size of the Wily Press can very much take up the entirety of one of the 2 sides if he drops near them. Thus, you will be able to hop over the spikes if this happens, but if he slams directly over the spikes, you can move away from the center. And for the sake of not letting that Mega Buster charge-up sound annoy you, try shooting Wily from afar with your charge shot. The hit sound will override the next charge-up sound, and you can listen to the full music as you wait. Weapons. Wily Press is weak to Star Crash, which does 4 damage. However, the big hitbox of Star Crash requires the weapon to be timed just precisely in order to successfully hurt the Wily Press, otherwise it will ding off the lower body. If you use this weapon to defeat Gravity Man in the prior rematches, Mega Man will either not have enough ammo or have to use the rest of their ammo to defeat the Wily Press with Star Crash, though using an M-Tank can restore this ammo back. Final boss, Wily Machine 5 and Wily Capsule 2. 6 damage on machine contact, 5 damage on blue balls, 3 damage on pink missiles, 3 damage on capsule contact, 6 damage on energy balls. Buckle in, because this is a complex one. The first phase has Wily Machine 5 remain stationary on the right side of the arena. The boss's weak point is the cannon in the skull's mouth, but every time this weak point is damaged, the Wily Machine 5 travels forward along the ground to corner Mega Man along the left side, before returning to its original spot. The first of its 4 attacks has the Wily Machine 5 use a hidden magnet inside the skull cannon to suck in Mega Man towards the boss to deal contact damage, and the pull lasts for 3 or 4 seconds. Wily Machine 5's main projectile is a blue bouncy ball that gets fired from the skull cannon. The blue balls bounce in arcs and always reach the same height, and although only one ball is fired at a time, it has 2 different speeds. The slower speed has it bounce multiple times, at a slow enough pace that Mega Man can walk under it just fine, while the faster speed will only get 1 bounce in. Under the skull cannon is a smaller turret, responsible for shooting 3 fast pink missiles in a row that fly in a straight line. While they can be slid under, they actually alter their trajectory and change altitude if Mega Man jumps over them. After the Wily Machine 5 is destroyed, the boss music changes, and Dr. Wily continues the battle with the Wily Capsule 2. This one is much more simple, and follows a set order of attacks. Using the black background to its advantage, the Wily Capsule 2 fades in and out as to reappear in different areas of the screen. Whenever the Wily Capsule 2 appears, he immediately attacks by dropping a pink energy orb straight down to the ground. Upon this orb hitting the ground, it splits off into 2 orbs that travel along the ground, going away from each other. After this attack, Wily creates 4 orbs that swirl around his capsule like a shield. Eventually, the Wily Capsule 2 disappears, which causes the diameter of the spiral to increase, letting the orbs cover more range around where the boss was. The spiral then shrinks after reaching its limit, causing the orbs to converge back together and disappear. Buster only. If you want to avoid damage against Wily Machine 5, this is another boss who you gotta be very patient with. Wily's movement of closing in on you can make attacks much harder to anticipate and dodge, as Wily Machine 5 randomly chooses from its pool of 4 attacks. As crazy as it sounds, you want to hold off from attacking until it tries to suck you in. This attack provides the best opportunity to damage the boss in a safe way without getting ambushed by the other projectiles, especially the pink missiles. In addition, if the Wily Machine 5 isn't moving, you can comfortably react to its attacks, though the speed of the pink missiles can make them tricky to dodge consistently. You should have a charge shot ready for when you see the boss use its suck attack, then you can charge up another one during its motion. Do be careful that if you're airborne, you get pulled in much faster than if you're grounded. As for the Wily Capsule 2, that one can appear anywhere except for the direct center, giving Mega Man a kind of safe spot to stand. Wherever he appears, you'll have to do a quick reaction to not only hit him if he's level with you, but to also dodge his dropping orbs. The spiraling orbs are easily avoided by moving away. If Wily's too high from your reach, you won't be able to hurt him, but at least the dropping orb is easier to dodge. While the capsule can't appear directly in the center where you want to stand, he could appear just above it to the left or right side and drop a very quick orb on top of you. You'll have to do a very quick reaction in order to avoid damage. Weapons. Wily Machine 5 is actually weak to Super Arrow, which does 4 damage. Due to the weapon's relatively slow acceleration, it can be really tricky to time hits on the boss from afar, but will easily score a hit if used up close. It's very difficult to beat him without taking damage using this weapon, because you can very easily get sucked into him trying to attack with a quick move. If you want to, you can use the weapon to hide in the upper bounds of the screen to be safe from attacks for a bit. The Wily Capsule 2's main weakness is beat. While only doing 2 damage at a time, compared to the Charge Shot's 3, this bird automatically homes in on the Wily Capsule 2 to damage the boss regardless of his location. If Beat is feeling particularly aggressive, he will even circle around where the Wily Capsule 2 is in the background, exposing his upcoming locations. Even without Beat, Mega Man has several tools to use. Gyro Attack only does 1 damage, but the multi-aiming can hit the boss if he's high above. Gravity Hold does no damage at all, but the Bright Flash can actually expose the silhouette of where Dr. Wily is in the background. Use it after the 4 orbs disappear to find out where he will show up next. With all of the bosses discussed, I've made a couple of tier lists calculated through my research. One for Buster only difficulty, one for weapons allowed, and one for my personal opinions on the overall quality of the fights. For the former 2, I fought the bosses each 10 times in a row to calculate how much damage I took within those 10 battles. And if there were any ties, I broke the ties by doing more rounds. For weapons, I defaulted to either the weakness or the ones I preferred to use, and I did not break ties. And now for my personal opinion on the fights. Stone Man. With his power stones never going to hit you, all he can do is jump. His crumpling does nothing to enhance the battle, leaving you with a big lug trying to hug you rather than kill you. I know this game is on the easier side, but all things considered, this is one of the most bland Robot Master fights ever made. Monking from Mega Man 3 can put up a better battle. Darkman 2. Here it is, folks, the most galaxy brain pattern of all time. But seriously, what were they smoking with this one? The hot dog buns hardly contribute anything, and can even be bypassed with weapons. The only thing tricky about him is that he stops right under you and can punish you for mistiming your jump. Darkman 3. This guy is hurt by the distance mechanic the most. Because of his random walking, he may either get to use his gun right away, or just walk right up to you and lock himself into ring shooting forever. Either way, the rings are way too slow to warrant you doing anything else in this fight. He's practically begging for you to cheese him and put him out of his misery. Darkman 1. The problem with him is how unintuitive he is. He starts out slow and basically gives you free hits until he goes crazy fast. Now that he's constantly chasing you, he'll always hit you if you do full jumps over his shots like a normal person. While he can be mastered, he can also cause a great deal of frustration. Did I mention his shift in speed is inconsistent? Wily Press. Really boring waiting for him to come down. Could they have not given those pink orbs their own projectile to keep you busy in the meantime? The only saving grace is that the weakness is surprisingly fun and well chosen, as you need to be even stricter with timing your attack, and you'll be able to use a full bar on both Gravity Man and Wily Press if you land all of your shots. Wily Capsule 2. This capsule manages to strike the balance between unengaging and frustrating. A Buster-only fight can last as long as 2 to 3 minutes with how often he hides in the upper area, which is when his attacks are easier to dodge, but he can also just appear right above you with only a brief moment to react to. His weakness makes him a complete joke. Crystal Man. While not as brain dead as Stone Man, his movement pattern is very restrictive, made slower with him firing shots at you every now and then. He's another boss whose best attack is limited to the start of the fight. Because if not for the distance mechanic, Crystal Man could have delivered on being the most energetic boss in the game. Gyro Man. If you took away the clouds, the fight wouldn't change at all. His attacks are very simplistic to dodge, and he spends too much time standing still. His damage output is on the higher side to compensate, but he gains nothing from his own unique mechanic. Napalm Man. While his attacks are fun to dodge with how simple they are, he suffers heavily from the distance mechanic. He'll usually use his missiles once, then stick to napalm bombs with him always trying to stay close to you. The way his movement is designed though, does make it tricky to time your attacks for maximum damage. Wave Man. The slow speed of his harpoon is cool, but his water wave is very unreliable as he's more likely to hit himself with it. Oddly enough, he's a lot more exciting to fight with his weakness, in which case there's the possibility of water wave actually appearing underneath you. Wily Machine 5 and Wily Capsule 2. A final boss that evolves the formula of Wily Machines and Capsules, but ends on a sour note. The first phase is rich with attacks to keep you busy, while the second phase is lousy and slow. Starman. While he has a very big attack in his Star Crash with decent variation, it is way too slow to reliably pose a threat. Oddly enough, it feels fluid with the space physics, and if he manages to corner you, you'll have to do some quick reactions to dodge the big size of his shield. Gravity Man. Although he doesn't have a lot of attacks and is limited to a strict pattern, he makes up for it by spamming Gravity Hold all the time to disorient you. I like the novelty of hitting him as you fly past him, especially with timing the little lemons, and having to be mindful of when he shoots gives him a nice flow. I just wish he did a little bit more with such a wacky concept. Darkman 4. The ultimate combination robot manages to stand out, even when mixing the moves of his brothers. He has a shield that rotates faster, and the way you dodge his attacks is pretty natural. His main problem is that randomness can burden the difficulty, because if he throws his shield too many times, then he might as well be fighting without one. Circling Q9. He has some wacky movements and attacks, with his lob shots getting launched off screen. It pairs well with the unconventional design of the platforms, but I feel like his side hatches should have been manually opened by the player. They always stay open when he dips down, so that's basically 70% of the fight where they're not even in your way. Wily Machine 5. This Wily Machine is packing a lot of attacks, each of which can cause mayhem in conjunction with it moving closer to you. The weakness adds on to this because you have to risk your safety in order to properly time your attacks. My only gripe is that I wish his projectiles had telegraphs, because that way, you not only have a better chance to dodge them when he moves up close, but you don't have to wait for him to start sucking you up in order to guarantee safety. Chargeman. Finally, a worthy opponent. Most of the time, Chargeman is invulnerable, so this fight is about playing defensively and timing your jumps properly to keep your distance. He feels much more distinct than the other Robot Masters who mostly just move by jumping. And while he can vary up his pattern, his coal attack does suffer because most of the time, they'll be nowhere near you. Big Pets. Having to climb up his segments to hurt him is unique and made more stressful by the randomness of the little robot formations. It's a very tight structure for a boss and a huge breath of fresh air. Plus, the RNG of the robots can't really get in your way if you know how to improvise. Overall, this boss roster is kind of in the middle of the road compared to the others I've checked out. Most of the Robot Masters are too easy when looking at the sum of their parts, and most of the Dark Men drag everyone down with how inconceivable their boss designs are. The Fortress bosses are a little better, but they do share a common theme in making you wait for a while until you can get a good strike, though the biggest problem I see is the distance mechanic. None of the bosses who have it benefit from it, and it would have been better if they were fine-tuned more. Mostly easy bosses is not a problem for me, but there's a consistent streak of issues that baffles me so. Oh well. Well, that's it for the video. If you like what you saw, consider giving a like and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment if you have something to say. And as per usual, check the links in the description if you want more out of my channel, including my own Discord server, DeMontropolis. I hope this guide will prove useful in helping folks get better at Mega Man 5 and even take a jab at fighting the bosses in a different manner. With that said, I'll be signing off. Take care, folks.